Okay, I want to switch gears here, and this is going to be a little bit of a fun one because then we're going to get into what I think is going to be a really exciting conversation. But I noticed, Allison, that the way I was saying your name before you started being like a super famous broadcaster was different. So I want to, for the record, on Kraken, how would you like us to pronounce your name?
So honestly, so it's long story longer. My husband changes the way he says his own first name when we've had the opportunity to go back to Germany, which is where his family originates from. So I literally do accept all pronunciations. I personally say Lukan, but people say it, I've literally heard it 4 different times today alone. And I know you're talking to me, so it's fine.
Okay, fantastic. I ask because I have a name that also varies, and it also depends. Like, culturally, if I'm with my family, you might say it one way versus, another way. So just figured I'd ask. So we'll just stick with Allison.
You said it perfectly at the start of the show, so you're right on brand. It's good.
Fantastic. Okay, so this is the conversation I promised when we had you on the first time that we were going to get back into it. I am like a purist, right? If I go back to my love, my passion, my first sport of baseball, I am beside myself that now the National League has a DH and I can't take it. And it's like affecting my enjoyment of the sport because I'm old school. I'm old school like that. So needless to say, as the conversation of positionless insert sport begins making its way around, I start to sweat. Like in basketball, I'm like, you need a center, you need a point guard. If everyone else wants to run around, okay, fine. But like, we got to have a 1 and a 5. We got to have a 1 and a 5. That's me. That's where I come from in like any sports debate. So when you said that you have this vision or you want to see where positionless hockey could go, I was like, I need to know. I need to know all of the things. My body is reacting in a very particular way, but I could be wrong because hockey's still new to me. So let's do this, Allison. Make a case for positionless hockey. Let's start first. What does that even mean? What does positionless hockey mean to you?
So first, I must give a shout out. If people have not read this or read any of the work by Ryan Stimson, he is one of the thought leaders in the analytics space going back years and years. A key person in me, even knowing a tenth of the things I know, has a book that you can buy that is called Tape to Space. And it's redefining modern hockey tactics. And I think that if people want to really get into the guts of it, I couldn't recommend a book more. But I think positionless hockey is 2 things, big, broad things. First and foremost, it's us as viewers of the game changing our expectations of someone who is filling a certain position. And defense is the perfect example. So defense is my holy grail. We cannot effectively measure, we've talked about this, we cannot effectively measure defense right now in many sports, in part because we can't, because we don't have the technology, and in part because how do you measure the prevention of something? How do you measure keeping something from happening? So because of that, I think we don't give it its due, to be honest. And then I think when we see, unless you are as complete a player as Cale Makar, who does all the things perfectly as a defenseman, the minute a defenseman starts to change what a defenseman looks like, becomes more offensive, starts to do things differently, we go, oh, but he sucks at defense. Does he? Or are we thinking about a defender in a very archaic way? So I think first as fans, it's about allowing for a broader definition of a role. And then on the ice, it is the realization of that. It is saying we have a unit of 5 players, and when they are out there, this person does this, this person does this, this person does this, this person does this. It doesn't mean we let go of any other responsibilities. To your point, there still could be someone whose job is to play the middle of the ice, make sure the puck is distributed, back up the defense, get lower in the zone, what we would traditionally call a center. But that person could be Cale Makar for all intents and purposes, right? So it's about thinking about responsibilities, matching skills to responsibilities, and deploying units more so than, and that could even be traditionally like offensive and defensive still potentially. It could be pairs and forwards or whatever you want to do. But it's freeing up our minds to allow and accept a player in a certain position to do something different because that's what they're freaking good at, and that's what's going to help your team find success.
Okay. Okay. I feel the blood pressure coming down.
Good.
I understand that. The concept of units, and I think in hockey that intuitively that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like that's kind of how hockey works. I mean, though in theory, like that's how any sport works. But to me, at least what I heard, what it sounds like is that maybe the positionless part is maybe how we even, I suppose, classify players. Maybe that's where we start. And then we empower the teams to your point, create units that are going to best serve the goals and purpose, obviously other than winning, but like how the team wants to win. And they can deploy those units, and then a player can be on one unit and play one role, defender, and be on a different unit and play a different role.
100%.
Okay.
Just like we see, Florida was a team that was doing this a lot, deploying a 5-forward power play. Right? Technically, that's not what people have always done.
Got it.
But
Okay.
their goal was to score as much as possible on the power play. So they put 5 offensively minded players out there. And, I wrote years ago about the definition of a role called rover, which, there's Zach Werenski was part of that. Now Cale Makar is, in my opinion, the ultimate embodiment of that. But if we want more Cale Makars, we have to allow that not everyone can be at Cale Makar's level, but there will be stair steps of players who play like Cale Makar. They're just maybe not as good. So if you're not as, let's say that Cale Makar is a rover. Let's just go there. He's a rover. He's not a defender. He's not a forward. There's going to be rovers who aren't as good, which means they're going to make mistakes both offensively and defensively, but they're still a rover. Don't just say, oh, now that's a dumb defenseman kind of thing.
Right.
So,
Okay. I mean, and that makes sense. I guess, I think truly, and this has become like real drama when it comes to WNBA and like voting, which is a whole other issue. But like, if you want the best and you're limited to how many forwards, how many centermen, how many, you can pick on a team, like, then are you getting the best?
Exactly. 100. This is exactly it.
Okay. I understand these things now. I think it could also be interesting though, because I mean, hockey, like, let's just use the general sports term, right? Substitutions, right? Or changing of lines. Like, I think that could be absolute chaos. It's like the fastest chess match in the world.
Yes, exactly. But, and again, that's maybe maybe there's one role where there's a lot of players who fill that role and only 4 players are a unit, or only 3 players are. It's just freeing our minds up. And again, like I said, most importantly, allowing us to just say, we need 5 players out there, because we can only have 5, who have to accomplish these 10 things. So if these 2 each do 2, these 3 each do 3, great. And the next time if they go out, if that changes, fine. But we're not a center, 2 wings, 2 defenders.
Right. Got it. Okay, this makes more sense to me. I understand it. I think what will be interesting is if we see more of this kind of concept of positionless hockey take off. Although I would argue, like, just knowing hockey culture as I do, it's going to take a while. Like, it seems like it might take a while. But like, if we get there, let's say we're there, I think what's also going to be interesting, and I think we're seeing this in baseball. I mentioned, I have my gripes about baseball. But one of the things is that we're hearing is that now that Major League Baseball is going to start instituting where you can't shift.
Right.
And I don't like the shift, but more so because it's like these big bad baseball boys can't just lay down a bunt or a slash.
Exactly.
Just adjust to the shift. If you lay down a bunt, nobody's going to shift on you anymore. Or they'd have to at least think about, are you going to shift this time? When are you, like, you have to think about it. And so that's the only thing that I worry about, because we've seen this at league levels. Again, I don't want to put you in a hot seat, but league levels, we see that as the sport evolves, as the technology, bats, sticks, composite, all this stuff, as this stuff changes, as the training of the athletes change, then you start changing little parts of the game to, let's say, enhance the aspects of the game that you think are most entertaining for fans to watch,
100%.
which then ultimately changes how it's being played, whether it's pitchers in baseball having to get used to a ball with different seams, which of course was great if you like home runs.
Right.
Sucks if you make your money trying to not have people hit home runs,
Right.
and things like that. So I'm very curious. I think, okay, I'm open. I've opened my mind now to this idea of positionless hockey. I understand it now. I appreciate you breaking it down. I think you did that in a very good way that was digestible for me as someone who's very excitable about things changing.
And again, like I just scratched the surface. And again, please read Ryan's work, please read Ryan's book. But I think as you were talking about baseball, it's again, I think this would really challenge too, who really is a creative and great GM? Like, Patrick Laine in Columbus is a perfect example. Some people say Patrick Laine is making too much money because all he does is score goals. Okay, but does Columbus need someone who can score a lot of goals? Yeah. So is it money well spent? Maybe, if they build the rest of the team around it and deploy him in a way that sets him up.
Understood.
So,
Yeah.
it's this whole thing too. Like, if you have a specialist who's a really freaking good specialist, that should be okay, as long as you can build a great team around him to complement that. So again, I think this could just make things a lot more fun.
I like it. I get it. I like it. It's good. I like it. Yes.
It's
All
good.
of the things. It's good. It's good. Well, Alison, we're just going to have you back. This has been fantastic. I know you're in Seattle and I know it's only day one. So that means there's a lot more to get done. We're going to get all the amazing content. I cannot wait. Like the team that we're going to get as fans watching the game, like how spoiled are we? I mean, saw like the epic photo that y'all took. And I was like, oh, they're leading all the way into the fact that we cannot wait to have a home game so we can hear all of the amazing talent that's going to be on the broadcast, yourself included, of course.
Well, thank you. We again, like I said, we are so excited. And the addition of both Eddie and Nick Olczyk, this is just only going to make us better and more knowledgeable and hopefully more fun and informing to our fans as they watch along. So we're literally just happy to be here and do the best we can. And we thank y'all for sticking with us.